Hello. Happy day. Happy September. I'm really excited to look at the entire month. We have a lot, there's Petunia. We have a lot of different astrology going on. Let's start right with the moons. She's quiet whenever I'm not talking. I don't understand. We'll start. So we had a new moon already. There was a new moon on September 2nd, on Monday, the very beginning of the month, the very beginning of the week. So now we will be in a waxing moon. Yes, the moonlight is getting brighter and brighter and brighter for the next 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks from the new moon. So I think we're about almost halfway through. If you look out at the sky over the next couple of days, it should look half illuminated and half dark. It's a really good time the first quarter to check in and think about the seeds that you planted again. Think about the intentions that you set out with. Maybe you haven't done that yet this month. That's okay. You can do it as much or as little as it feels appropriate for you. Yes, so things that you can do as the moon waxes. This is when I like to do more of the action. I feel like a broken record. I say that all the time. I do, though. I like to schedule more things. I like to try to be a little bit more social, like foster relationships that are external. This is like when I'm in my pursuing phase, and I'm taking actions to try to make things happen. I'm taking actions to try to propel myself forward. So you can use that in many ways. You can use that in business, where maybe, sometime over the course of this 2-week waxing period, you set up, you launch something, you launch a new product, a new offering, or maybe you have a networking ordeal. Maybe you network a little bit somehow. Maybe you call up some people and share about what you're up to and think it just is, hey, is it something you'd be interested in? Is there a way we could collaborate? That kind of stuff, the stuff that's more action oriented, that's more outside of yourself, more externally like charged. When we get to the full moon, which will be September 17th, let's see, I think that might be it's a Tuesday. Yes, it is. So we've got that full moon on Tuesday, the 17th. That's a partial lunar eclipse. So we are effectively now in the eclipse window, the eclipse portal. There will be another eclipse. There will be a solar eclipse on the 2nd. So on that next new moon, there will also be an eclipse. The full moon is an eclipse kind of a week before, a week after. So it's about a month long, the eclipse portal. There's so many different philosophies and kind of approaches to eclipses, wide spectrum. Some astrologers will say, don't set intentions, like don't try to manifest anything, because the energy is chaotic. It brings sudden beginnings and sudden endings. So trying to manifest in that you can get outcomes that you weren't asking for. It can be a little bit more chaotic. Other astrologers just don't feel that way. They don't subscribe to that fear. I kind of take it on a case-by-case basis. I know the last eclipse window in April just felt so fast to me. Everything felt like a little bit unmanageable. It felt like the speed was moving at a rate that I was not prepared to deal with. It was also Aries season. So it's a little bit different energy. We're in Virgo right now, but still, you just notice how you feel. These planets are going to ping off of different parts of your chart, and it should kind of, you'll get a sense of this is unmanageable, things are moving too fast, or not. Maybe it's just really energizing. Maybe you have a lot of extra energy to problem solve, or you have a lot of extra energy to clean up extra messes. Like it could go either way. So just be curious, pay attention to how you feel. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at the chart for that full moon, just to see, want you to see what I look at. Woo! Let's move the date out to the 17th. So you can see the moon isn't exactly, I think the full moon will be like later in the day. But we have the sun in Virgo, we have the moon in Pisces. When the full moon hits that 25 degrees of Pisces, it will be full. It'll be at its max fullest point. There's just interesting things going on around the full moon. So when the moon is at 25 degrees of Pisces, it will be very close to Neptune, which is 28 degrees Pisces. Neptune will add a little bit of flavor to this full moon. Neptune, I tend to think of like smoke and mirrors. I tend to think of honestly, like the world stage a little bit, like just how things might appear to be one way, but like something else is really going on underneath the surface. Can be a little bit confusing, can be a little bit imaginative, like it can be tricky to discern what is real and what is fabricated in the space of your mind. So that also lends itself really well to powerful imagination. So like everything has a perk and a pitfall. I don't want you to see Neptune and always think like, oh my gosh, the lies, the deception, the deceit. Like, yeah, it can, but it also can be really dreamy and help you connect to like really ethereal, not here realms. So that'll be interesting just to see how that feels to be so close to the full moon. Moon in Pisces can be a little bit tricky. It's very feely, it's very blurry, it's very sensitive to the emotions, the toxins, the negativity, the positivity. It's sensitive to everything that's around it. It's a little bit like vanilla ice cream. It kind of takes on the flavor of whatever there is. So that mixed with the super imaginative, super dreamy, super ethereal, super not tangible can be a little bit confusing, and that's okay. Let's see what else. We will have Uranus sextile that full moon solar eclipse. So I think whenever I see Uranus, I think of unexpected changes, and that's what eclipse season is. It's sudden beginnings and sudden endings. So we have this extra dose of sudden shakeups coming from Uranus because it's a sextile. It's a harmonious relationship between the planets. It is more likely to be for like the greater good, for like the revolution that needs to happen to change the world kind of things. But I mean, whenever things are sudden, whenever things are unpredictable, whenever things are not predictable, it's threatening to our nervous system. It can make us like spin out. It can make us feel unsafe or dysregulated. And I think that's really important to take into account. So as we get closer to that full moon, check in periodically with your nerves, your nervous system. Is your food digesting okay? Have you had enough water? Have you gone outside at all today? All of these simple, easy, pretty much free measures that you can take to ensure that your body has what it needs to function optimally. You don't need to buy anything fancy. You don't need to buy a sauna. You don't need to buy a red light. You can just go outside and get the red light from the sun. The sun produces all of the colors. That's part of the beauty of it. So especially that first morning light between like when the sun first hits the horizon and like 30 minutes up, you get the most red light, which is what all of the biohackers are doing with all their cool gadgets, but you don't need it. So that can be a really powerful regulation tool. This will be squaring Jupiter. Actually, the full moon will have a bit like a 5-degree square to Jupiter. This gives it a higher likelihood to overcommit, overextend, overdo. So be mindful, especially as, you know, the moon gets fuller and brighter and light gets brighter, we get more energized. We have more energy. When we have more energy, we want to share it. We want to commit to things. We want to do things. We want to make things happen. So I think if you're sharing your energy, your resources, your time, your finances, like anything like that, just do a little like, not to be stingy, not to be selfish, not to be coming from a place of fear and protection, but like respect. This is the energy that I've cultivated today because I meditated this morning. I'm not going to I'm not going to give it all away because I feel energized. Or time is a big one, like over compromising. Someone asks for something and feel obligated to fulfill that ask. So just, it doesn't have to be a big deal. You don't have to take all day to contemplate or deliberate over something. But just make sure you're not giving away more than you want, I guess is the bottom line. Saturn will be kind of close to the moon. It's within 10 degrees, so it is with an orb. It is just it's a little bit, it's not as close as the other aspects that I've brought up already. So that can bring a stabilizing energy to the peak, the bigness of the energy. So that's something that you can, if you do feel dysregulated, if you feel nervous, anxious, stressed out, stuck in fight or flight mode, turn your attention to Saturn, maybe read mythology about Kronos, who is also Saturn. Just different. I think it was, I don't know. I always mix up the Romans and the Greeks, so I don't even want to say, but you can, I mean, just think about, the principal, think about professors. I was going to, Professor Dumbledore, like people that, and I know that those are fictitious people, but that kind of energy, Dumbledore didn't let Harry get away with more than he was supposed to. Like, there are consequences. So think about maybe some of that headmaster energy, the principal, the father, the authority figure, and bring that into yourself. You can have your own inner husband, you can have your own inner father, you can have your own inner life partner, by being deliberate with your no's and your yeses, and like holding yourself accountable to things. So if you feel too dreamy, if you feel stuck in like what is real, turn to Saturn for some of those more practical, stabilizing, responsible kinds of energies. Let us see. Mars is up here, and it's not going to have too much to do with the full moon. Mercury, not too close. It's kind of out of orb. Venus over here is not doing too much. She'll be in a trine relationship with Jupiter, which is that's a really favorable placement. So whenever Venus and Jupiter interact, Venus is love, money, values, like relationships, harmony, peace, beauty, like the feminine side of the spectrum. Jupiter is expansion and abundance. So whenever, just in old traditional astrology, whenever Venus and Jupiter interact, they say, there's a higher likelihood of expanding your wealth. So you can take that to mean any number of things. You can invest time in yourself, invest time in caring for yourself, and like have your health expand your wealth. You can take that approach. You can think of it as like literal investments. Maybe you spend some time looking at what you do have money invested in and see if you can move anything around, or if there's anything that you can sell, or any investments that you've been wanting to make. This can just be a fortunate time to act on some of those things. Pluto will be in a relationship with the full moon as well. So Pluto, you can see, is 29 degrees of Capricorn right now, or at least on the full moon. And that will be 4 degrees sextile from the moon itself. So it just brings intensity. It brings some power. It brings the opportunity for transformation. So I love to see people get scared of Pluto, and that's okay. You can feel that way if you want to, but I think it gives us amazing clues, and just I'm not scared of intensity. I'm not scared of depth. I'm not the person that likes superficial. So, and I don't judge people that do. Like, my God, I bet it's a lot easier. But so if you do tend towards the light, easy breezy, superficial, then this kind of intensity and depth can feel really uncomfortable. Even if you tend to enjoy like not superficial things, intensity and depth can feel uncomfortable. But I think the difference is the people that enjoy that know that there's the other side. You got to get through it. So this moon is a powerful one for manifesting if you do want to go that route with the lunar eclipse happening. Virgo is earth, it's reality, it's practical, it's tangible. Pisces is dreams and imagination and like empathy and imagination. So this, I always think with Virgo and Pisces, like the Pisces dreams up the ideal, and it just holds it up high on this beautiful pedestal. And it's so fun to daydream and think about this ideal reality. And then Virgo gives you the stepping stones in order to organize the process of making that dream real. So the Virgo Pisces moon is just one of my favorites. This is the next eclipse cycle. It's the next series of eclipses that we'll have. I think we have one more that is Aries Libra still. But the next couple that we have will be Virgo Pisces eclipses. So there's something here to learn. There's something here that we can gain some information from about ourselves. Virgo, like I said, is very connected to the mundane, to the routines, to the habits that you engage in on a daily basis that ultimately shape your physical reality, that ultimately shape your body, your physical vitality. And then Pisces, again, is dreams and compassion and understanding and empathy and sensitivity and delusions and like fabrications of reality and imagination. So we've been in Aries Libra, which is self versus others. It's like relationship with the self and relationship with others. So we're going to be moving away from that kind of point of focus and come into this physical, mental, or mundane and extraordinary, or tangible and intangible kind of themes and topics. So think back over the course of the last year and a half. Think about how your relationship to yourself has changed, how your relationships with others have changed, how those two dynamics play into each other. It's really just so amazing. And likewise, Virgo Pisces feed into each other as well. All of the daily habits, routines, things that you do on a physical level in your tangible life affect your mental health. It affects your daydreams. It affects your level of compassion and understanding and like dreaminess. And likewise, all of that, your daydreams, imaginations, your perception, like suffering can deal with Pisces too, because a lot of times suffering is an illusion. It's this like deceptive thing that you're bringing upon yourself because your perspective is maybe a little bit wonky. So I hope you can see the spectrum that we're sitting on, and hopefully it gives you a couple different things to just kind of chew on and think on. I do like to imagine like sliding myself up and down the scale, especially as I look back to Aries Libra and just think about, self versus others. Where do I put my focus? Like if I had a little Monopoly piece that was Maggie, where would she sit on that spectrum? And maybe, do I want to sit there? Like I have such a huge focus on other people. It's been freaking me out. I don't even know how to just be without like reading someone else. So, and it influences how, like what I say and how I behave. So, I can see just for me, that's kind of where my head has been at. So now, as we move into this different series, I encourage you just to think about physical health, mental health, mundane, like tangible, concrete every day and then like out there and dreamy and just think about it. Where would you put yourself? Where have you been for most of your life? And do you want to stay there or do you want to slide yourself around? I think that's mainly the moon, the full moon. So that'll be an exciting moon. We have Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. We have a grand trine in Earth. So this green triangle right here lets us know that there is a beautiful arrangement of Earth energies, hopefully giving us a little bit more of a stable, practical, sturdy kind of a feel. So we don't get, our nervous systems don't get really out of whack with Uranus, or we don't feel like things are too intense with Pluto. Hopefully it'll be easy to have the daydream. Thank you, Neptune. And then with the Earth, know what to do in order to get there. So I think it's beautiful. Let's get into the second week. Well, let's start with the first. I know I already did the first week of September video. But so let me see. I went all over the place with my notes for this. Just think back over the week, the first week. Give yourself some thinking points. So what was I passionate about this week? Mars changed signs. We moved into Cancer from Gemini. Mars is going to be in Cancer for months. Usually it stays in a sign just for two months. But it is going to be retrograde towards the end of the year, and it will move back into Cancer. So it's just going to be in Cancer for a lot longer than normal. I don't remember exactly when it gets out of there. But Mars in Cancer is caring for other people. It's about showing up and defending and protecting your loved ones, your favorite places, your favorite things, like taking a stand for the radical care and nurturing of that sector of your life. When I was born, Mars was in Cancer. That's my natal placement. I'll be curious to see what this feels like. I had a very emotional day yesterday. Just couldn't stop crying, and I don't know if it's connected. I'm not like in the part of my period cycle where I could blame it on that. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. So I'm wondering just how my passions will be triggered, or like what was plaguing me yesterday was not being able to do anything for the people that I care for. I have some loved ones that are going through some, like just shitty illnesses right now, cancer, and it makes me so mad that like all I can do is say like, oh, I'm thinking about you. Like, that feels terrible. I want to do something. I want to do something substantial. So, and I know that thoughts are powerful, but it's just, I want to do something measurable. So think about that. Think about your passions. Think about what's been moving your needle, your motivation levels. If you feel it or not, like that's still good data to have. And then we had Mercury square Uranus, which was that can just be a little bit destabilizing. It can be unexpected news. It can be like changes of tempo. It can be overstimulating. Maybe that had a little something to do just with my emotions yesterday. I felt so overwhelmed. I just couldn't even, someone asked me what was wrong, and I like dramatically exited because I was like, I can't get into this. I don't even know what to say right now. Like, and I have one more appointment. I'm not gonna explore my feelings right now. So that can just light reflections of the week. How did I feel? Was I charged up? Was I energized? Was I stressed out? Was I overwhelmed? Were things too fast? Just curious, very curious. Our nervous system favors what is predictable. It's a safety mechanism. It makes so much sense. Stop fighting against that. It is there for a reason. I think you can work with it though. If you notice that nervous tension, anxiety, unease, I didn't really do very much to help myself out yesterday. I did not drink very much water, but drank a lot of caffeine. Didn't take any breaks to go for a walk outside. didn't really like, yeah, I just was kind of stewing in my own internal rage. So sometimes that's just sometimes that's just what I want. I don't know why. I paid the price for it with like an emotional hangover headache last night, but I think um I I just felt like I needed to be in it. I needed to be there for a little bit. So I let myself do that. I feel much better today. Got up and went for a walk. I did some exercise, drank some water and took a shower. So just those little things, I know that that's very helpful for helping my body feel stable. So notice if you feel destabilized in any way, and then do something about it if you don't want to stew in your own state. The second week of September, we don't have as many transits. We don't have as many aspects going on. There will be Mercury sextile Mars, there will be Sun square Jupiter, and then Venus trine Jupiter. So let's maybe go back a couple days. Here we go. And beautiful. Okay, I didn't even see it go. So we have Mercury this week will be in a relationship with Mars that is very easy. It's very easy for those two planets to communicate. They have this really harmonious energy between them. So when our mental operations have easy access to Martian energy, to the warrior, that can give us a sharper tongue. It can be a little bit easier to be blunt. It can be a little bit easier to be direct. It can be easier to tell the truth. And sometimes the truth really cuts. It really hurts, but it's the kindest thing that you can offer, in my opinion. Especially if you ask yourself, is it helpful? Is it truthful? Is it kind? Like if it checks all those boxes, I think you're better off saying the dang thing than not. It gives you really strong instincts, a really quick wit, sharp mind, sharp tongue. So just watch. It is easier to cut people with our words, to cut people down a little bit, to cause some injuries, so to speak. So just keep that in mind if you want to. If not, throw it out the window. This can look like mental motivation. It can look like competitiveness. It can look like a strong work ethic or a strong initiative. It's really good for getting things off the ground. It's really good for getting the ball rolling. And right, we still have the building energy of the moon to support us. So maybe next week, if there's something that you have tabled, you've put it on the back burner because it was too much effort to figure it out, this would be a really great week to get that thing back out. Look at those details. There'll be a little bit more motivation, a little bit more energy that like propels forward. The sun squaring Jupiter, then on the 12th, sun is here, Jupiter's here, 20 and 20. So they're 90 degrees away from each other. That can be tension. It can be conflict. It's a very dynamic kind of energy. So that kind of energy is what spurs change because it feels uncomfortable. So if nothing ever feels uncomfortable, we don't ever do anything about it. Sun and Jupiter, though, like of all the squares, Jupiter squares are probably easier because Jupiter is jovial and it's optimistic and it's abundant and expansive and generous and it wants to share and it wants to give. So that if you think about how that could be tricky or how that could be present challenges, we come back to that idea of oversharing, overgiving, giving all your time, all your resources, all your energy all the time because it doesn't feel taxing because you feel good, you feel generous, you feel optimistic. And so it's easier. So it's easier to overindulge in risky behaviors because you're so confident from that Mars energy hitting your mind. So I don't know, take that with a grain of salt. The best way to work with those energies and including the Venus trine Jupiter is to practice respect, moderation, and discipline. So maybe write those words somewhere in the week, the second week of September, respect, moderation, and discipline, and just see where is there an opportunity for you to practice each one of those things, even if it's just something simple. It doesn't have to, you don't have to like rewrite the whole script of your life. Just see, okay, it's Friday. I normally like to have a drink on Friday. Not really so much anymore, but like I know for me, that can easily turn into 2 drinks or 3 drinks. So if I was going to have a beverage, then that's a really bad example because I don't really like to drink anymore. I guess, okay, so Friday's my treat day. I'll pick up, right now I'm really hooked on drumsticks. I like ice cream drumsticks. So today, if I get some of those, if I pick some up, then I'm gonna practice some discipline with it and just have one instead of 2, and then wake up with sore hands and joints in the morning because I overindulged. So think about what that means for you, apply it in practical ways to your own life, and see what comes up, see what happens. Venus trine Jupiter, I mentioned a little bit discussing the full moon kind of energy. That is love, money, values supported by expansive energy. So Venus trine Jupiter increases your chances of good fortune, increasing your wealth, your social skills, your cheer, your optimism. So anything that you need to do socially, this would be just a good part of the week, a good part of the month to maybe arrange it. That is going exact on the 14th. So all around, like give or take a day or 2. Oh, it's exact on the 15th. Which is Sunday. So like if you need to do something social, if you've been putting off seeing, fostering relationships, the weekend of the 14th and 15th would be a really good time to do it, and it won't be draining, because Jupiter and Venus are having a nice little tango in the the 3rd week of September, there's a bit more going on again. I think that there's a lot of mental energy this week, and there's a lot of ego energy this week. Remember, the ego is not an enemy. It is not something that we're trying to escape or get rid of. Like, we need to integrate it and harmonize, make sure that like we are authorizing our ego's behaviors. Like, that's our inner 6-year-old. You wouldn't just let that, you're not going to stuff that little 6-year-old like down the garbage chute, because that would be incredibly cruel, but like you're not going to take directions from that 6-year-old. So it's just about blending those parts of who you are. Let's see. The mental energy might start off kind of heavy. We have Mercury opposite Saturn, Mercury over here in Virgo, Saturn over here in Pisces. And this can just like highlight your responsibilities. It can make you feel a sense of mental duty. It can make you feel, and then like all of that has its own ripples. So I was talking with a woman who has this transit going on in her chart right now as well. Personally, the transiting Saturn is opposite of her natal Mercury, and she said that she was almost starting to resent the responsibility that she has to care for her 2 teenage girls. And she's like, I feel horrible saying that, but like it's the truth right now, and I know it'll change, but like I don't really know what to do with myself until then, because you can't just deny that you feel that way. I don't know, you have to like sit in it and work with it and talk to your inner 6-year-old, and other people might have better advice for you than me. I'm not like a psychotherapist or anything, but like that's just how, that kind of heavy feeling of like, oh my God, I can't let these people down, and it's making me feel heavy. It's making me feel lonely. It's making me feel restricted or limited in some way. So if you notice yourself feeling that way, it'll pass. It'll pass. You don't have to act on it. You don't have to cut your relationship off with your children. Just give yourself maybe some space. Set yourself up for success in any way that you know how. Maybe ask for help. Maybe there's many ways. that you can work with that. So don't let yourself, feel too bad if you feel like your responsibilities are weighing you down. It'll pass by. It'll be okay. Then a couple days later, we have Mercury squaring Jupiter. This can really open up the mental energy. So it's just a couple days later. I think that heavy feeling probably won't sit for too long. But when when Mercury is interacting with Jupiter, again, it is a square, which can be conflicting or like tension inspiring, but because it's Jupiter, expansive and abundant, it's probably more just like can make you a little bit more distracted. Like you're more thinking about what you want to say next instead of really listening to what the person you're talking to is saying, or just very scattered mental energy. Like you walk into a room and what was I doing? Why did I come in here? Like that kind of like just, I don't know, expanded mental energy. Can be tough to concentrate. So you can pick one thing that's important for you to accomplish this week and celebrate yourself when you get that one thing done. It doesn't have to be crazy or dramatic. Then throughout the week, the sun makes a lot of aspects to the outer planets. The sun trines Uranus, it opposes Neptune, it trines Pluto. And yeah, that's a lot of ego energy. And it lingers a little bit more than when the sun interacts with Mercury or Venus or the moon, because Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto all move very, very slowly. So they kind of create themes over broader windows of time. It's a good week for ego development. So it's just very powerful energies. When the sun trines Pluto, that opens up room for transformation as it relates to yourself. When the sun is opposite Neptune, that can make you feel like, I don't know who I am. I'm so confused. Like the boundaries are so blurred between me and everyone that's around me. I can't separate us out. I can't see where the line of me ending and their beginning is. So that can feel a little bit confusing. So we have intensity and depth and transformation. We have confusion, imagination, daydreams, and then we have the sun trine Uranus, which is rebellious. It's a little bit not as predictable. It shakes things up. It does things in a new way to get a new outcome. So I think it's a really good week for ego development. I think it's a good week to be okay with feeling a little bit confused or feeling a little bit experimental with Uranus, doing things differently. It can be like experimental energy, confused energy, self-awareness, like being hyper aware of the little things that you want to work on with yourself. Distorted connection with self or distorted view of self. I think that here with Pluto, the power of transformation, that's also like very closely connected with fear. A lot of people are subconsciously afraid to change and transform because that is unpredictable and that is a big fat threat. So I want you to think about, especially towards the end of the week, I want you to think about some of these, especially as it relates to control, just because if you feel confused, there's not a very stable feeling of being in control of the situation. If things feel unpredictable, if you feel experimental, if you feel like things are changing or the tempo's going faster, that can make you want to control the situation and stay with what is familiar and stay with what you know. With this guy, with Pluto over here, we're going to have Venus interacting with Pluto as well. That can open up ground for feeling insecure of yourself, feeling fearful or feeling like self-conscious. So not saying that that's what's going to happen, but if you notice yourself feeling that way, pull on some of those threads. Like, where is that coming from? Where does this lie begin? Because I don't think anyone has a good reason to be insecure. And I just don't think it's necessary. I think that if you're feeling insecure, then that's it's a really good clue that something isn't aligned properly. So just explore, be very curious. You're going to be okay. The planets are going to shift, the energies are going to move, and everything will be fine. The lion. Last week of September, I keep hearing Earth, Wind, and Fire in my brain, is another very mental kind of a week. Mercury trine Uranus, Mercury opposite Neptune, Mercury trine Pluto, Mercury changing signs, it's moving into Libra, and then Sun conjunct Mercury. That's so much mental energy. It also, this is one of my favorite ones. I'm looking forward to this a lot. Mars trine Saturn. Mars up here in Cancer, trine Saturn over here in Pisces. That is right there. That is strength and ambition. That is endurance. It is perseverance. It is follow through on anything that you have passion for. And that just feels good. My goodness. This I had written down when Mars and Saturn are in a trine relationship. You're more likely to have lasting success. So be really deliberate. What are you working on? What are you thinking about? What are you pursuing that you would really like for the success to last and like have endurance and have some, I don't know, just like glue that holds it all together. I'm so excited. It's also a really good time to start legal proceedings, and I'm not quite, I think it's just because of the follow through. That if you have anything like that needs to happen, this might be a good time to get it going. But for the most part, I think that you're going to have extra strength and extra ambition to take on the hardest tasks. You're going to have more likelihood of following through. So be deliberate. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? If you don't know, that's okay. But if there's something that you want, focus on it this last week of September, and take actions on it. Do stuff and watch the success come to you. I think with all the Mercury energy, all of the mental energy, I think we can expect a lot of communicating. I think we can expect lots of news, and especially with the sudden beginnings and endings with the eclipse portal. I just think that and it's an election year, so there's probably going to be news like there is every other day. Mental alertness, mental confusion, miscommunications, maybe struggle with making decisions a little bit. With the Neptune, Mercury opposing Neptune, let's see, that is on the 25th. Mercury moves pretty fast. Let's see, we got Mercury 28, Neptune 28. That's an opposition right there. That I think that if you have to make an important decision, this can give you a little bit of cloudiness. So I think that, if you feel like you need to sign a big contract or you need to make a big commitment, I would just hold the phone. I don't really know what I was trying to do there. Don't be afraid to ask people for help in looking over the details of something that's important for you, especially with the extra motivation that we're going to have. Look at this, the moon and Mars are going to be very close together. We still have Mars trining Saturn. Like, it's just, there is heavy Mars energy, which is very motivating. It's very energizing. You might feel like impulsively inclined to make a decision. But with Mercury opposing Neptune, it might be trickier to see all of the fine details. So I think that just don't be afraid to ask someone to lend you their eyes for a moment. Look over your grammar, look over whatever it is. You can ask anyone for help with anything. So Keep that in mind. Yeah, basically. With the sun conjuncting Mercury by the end of the week, it's very mentally stimulating. Sometimes for me, it feels like a bit much, like the circuit board in my brain just can't take anymore. So I need to like, it's like being over caffeinated. At least in the past ones, I'll be curious to see how this one feels. Can be mentally alert, very adaptable, very curious, that kind of just increased mental energy. Um, let's see, if you know what you're working towards, you're more likely to succeed at talking others into things. This is very potent between Mercury and Pluto. Pluto's power and transformation. So to have that energy harmoniously aspecting your mental body or your communication skills, you can use your words to convince other people of anything. It might show up, though, that other people's words are being incredibly influential over you. So just keep that in mind. That kind of comes back to the asking for help, asking for support, asking for whatever it is that you need. Like there's power in your words, there's power in your voice. So make sure that you're being deliberate with how you're using them. One more little note for Mars trine Saturn, Mars, Saturn. I'm just so excited for it. Patience and self-discipline, efficiency, follow through on what you're passionate about, loyalty and devotion, expect good relations and support from authority figures. That can be parents, it can be teachers, it can be bosses, it can be any like police, like people that you kind of have to answer to in some way or another. You have a stronger ability to take on difficult tasks and complete them. So I'm so excited for that. I think it's going to be great. Let me know what it is that you're working on, you're working towards with that Mars trine Saturn. And I hope you have a beautiful month. Thank you for listening in, and we'll catch up again soon.